Kia ora, my name's Nico. I'm originally from New Zealand, now living in Vancouver, and I'm an organiser. So the main kinds of events that I organise with friends are usually social ones, both within my house and within my home, I should say, as well as activities that get us outside of the house. So things like having potlucks where we have anywhere from 10 to 30 people will come around bringing a range of meals to share, and that's, it doesn't matter if you're a first-time cook or you're a chef, you can bring whatever you like. Other activities, we do this one called Tour de Fridge, which is a cycling based activity where we start off at one point and we have different checkpoints around the city. And each checkpoint is usually hosted by an individual, either on the ride or who's going to participate later on, and they provide either a food, a drink, or an activity there. And so some places we've stopped in parks and done ultimate frisbee, other times we've stopped at a beach, gone for a swim, other times we've managed to tie in other events such as a music concert or something, and we usually spend 20 minutes to 40 minutes at each checkpoint and then continue on. Some rides are very short, the distances are not great, so any skill level to across the city and spending all day doing that. So it covers a wide range and people can tap in and out as they need. And my other project that I have done quite regularly is a project called Rogue Cinema, which is a project where we see movies that you wouldn't normally see in places you wouldn't normally see them. So it's a project exploring the urban landscape. I've done this mainly in Auckland, but I will be looking to expand that here in Vancouver once the weather gets a little bit better and I get to know the city a little bit more, because I'm still fairly new here. But so the premise of it is bringing people together and in a late night environment to explore the urban environment. So that has been in Auckland in particular. Has been in my dad's studio one time. There's some fortified World War II army tunnels that are in a volcano that we've shown movies in. There was a lava tunnel that we were able to get access to. We painted a screen onto one of the stands that hold up our Harbour Bridge. And another place was a gun emplacement near a significant area called Bastion Point. These movies are usually politically themed to kind of get people thinking, so around either organising, non-violent civil resistance, or culture jamming. So it shows a full range of movies, and the idea is not for it not to be a profit-driven exercise, but rather we use this idea in New Zealand that comes from the Māori of koha. So you give a donation without any monetary value or specific amount, which allows just recoup some of the costs, which are not usually that great. But for example, I would use a generator, so it'd be the generator costs, and we would have lighting set up, the projector, a sound system, as well as a popcorn maker and lamps and different things going on to really set the mood. And all these things there would be things that from my house that I would bring. There wouldn't be, apart from a generator and stuff like that. But I was moving towards trying to incorporate a less energy intensive power source by moving towards a bicycle generator and batteries, but that was still a work in progress. I've been organising events with friends for I would say most of my adult life, but some of the later exercises that we've been doing probably have been in the last 5 or 6 years. Specifically the Rogue Cinema one, it started out as a project to, I was in a bit of a bad place myself at the time, and I used it to kind of pull myself out of that, because one thing that I've learned now is that, just doing things for yourself doesn't actually make you feel better or do things for you. Actually doing things for others is a much better way of pulling yourself out of these dark places that we sometimes find ourselves in. And so that would have been around 5 or 6 years ago, and I didn't realize it at the time. And I had some friends who asked me, what's your political objective with this program? And I was like, at the time, I didn't really know. But looking back on it now, it was actually to regain a bit of that sense of community that I think I felt like I had lost. I enjoy organising events because it allows me to flex my organising muscle in different ways, and the same as like you train for a marathon or you train for an exam. For some of my political organising I do, this is an opportunity to create a more fun, inclusive environment while without the confrontation or risk that can be associated with organising other political events. And so this, for me, gives me an opportunity to both relax, but at the same time continue to build on those organising skills that I've developed over the years. Some of the challenges that I've faced as an organiser around hosting or creating these events have largely, I've experienced, been to do with like weather dependency and commitments from other people. So sometimes you will have some people who are, oh yeah, I'll help you on that project, but then at the last minute something comes up, or they can't do what they said they were going to do. And while that's frustrating, it's also the reality of the busy lives that we have in our modern society. So, of course, you can't get too hung up on those kind of things. And if anything, it just allows you to become more adaptable and flexible. If you don't, then that becomes a challenge in and of itself. So a lot of things. So, for example, like my Rogue Cinema screenings, I very, very early on, like this idea started when I had seen some images of a screen hung in a tree. And I was like, wow, that's a really amazing example. I'd love to watch a movie in the roots of a massive tree. And so that's what I started from. But then, being that I was starting this in winter in Auckland, and I basically had to assume that it was going to rain at every single screening. And it did for quite a few of them, but the places that I chose were covered places that meant that I could do rain or shine. It did mean that people got a bit wet getting to and from the venues, but it meant that actually everybody stayed in that area collectively for the time of the movie, for a little bit beforehand, to help make the popcorn, to help clean up. And that was the other amazing thing, is like, even though it was me coming up with the idea, everybody chipped in to help, either setting up or packing down afterwards, because I usually had a fair amount of gear to bring in and out of these places. And some of them were like, we couldn't park up on the volcanoes because they would close the gates at 8 o'clock, and I would usually only start the movie at 8, and sometimes it would go till 11 or 12 at night. So then we'd have to have this trolley and trundle everything back down to the gate. And other events such as potlucks, they're always a bit of a surprise, because one, you never know who's going to come, even though people say, oh yeah, I can come, but then, as I said, life sometimes throws you curveballs, and sometimes you wind up with a whole bunch of similar kind of foods, and some people like to suggest that different people bring different things, but I tend to leave a little bit more open, and because some people don't like to make salads, some people don't like to do too much cooking, and so it puts the flexibility and the onus back on the people coming. The advice that I give people who want to start organising events, who maybe haven't done it or haven't done a lot of it, is start with something you enjoy. Start with doing something with someone you enjoy organising with or doing things with. So if that's a good friend of yours, that's a partner, that's a family member, and kind of find out what your common interests are, and then, okay, well, we both enjoy cooking, or we both enjoy watching movies, or we both enjoy riding bikes, and then just start seeing where you can go with that. My experience is that activity breeds activity. Inactivity breeds inactivity. So if you want to start doing things, then just start doing them. The only one that's going to hold you back is yourself. If I had to guess why some people prefer to wait to be invited rather than organising things themselves, I would have to say that people are a little bit hesitant to put themselves out there, to be the face of something, or to put their name to an event or something like that, for fear of failure. I think that our modern society has really taught us that failure is not really an acceptable aspect of our lives, but actually we learn more by failure than you do by success. And so sometimes you're going to organize something and not that many people are going to come, but that's not necessarily a reflection on you, but more the fact that people around us have extremely busy lives and not everybody's at the same place at the same time. So yeah, I think it can be challenging, but that's challenging at the best of times for the most amazing organizers out there.